Hello, everyone, and welcome to our genealogy getting started presentation. This is a continuation or I guess, a re-recording of the program we did on Facebook Live just recently in April 2020. This is kind of a new effort by ourselves at the Alpena County Library to provide to our patrons in our community access to programming, even though we're currently on stay-at-home orders by the governor. So the purpose of this presentation is to create and help present basic and really introductory bare bones style genealogy for the beginner or for maybe someone that's trying to refresh themselves. Today we're going to be going over a kind of a plethora of different ideas. This is my goal for all of you is to just give you all starting point with genealogy, right? There are a lot of different strategies and methods for gathering information on your family history. What I'm about to show you is what I've found to make the most sense to my own work. There's going to be people that have different strategies, different thoughts. They're all valid. This is just to give you that where to start, where to go from ground floor, from blank canvas to having a series of data that you can use to help depict your own family narrative. So first and foremost, start with yourself, right? So you want to be recording the dates and places of your own birth and marriage if you are married. And you also want to do the same for your parents and your brothers and your sisters and siblings, and including, if it's applicable, death dates and also places of living, places of birth, places if they have been, if they are deceased, places that their final resting place are at. Continue this process for each generation that you go back as far as you can with your own memory. It is usually helpful to use a pedigree chart format. I'll cover lightly what that is later on in the presentation, but also make a company family group sheet to record the parents and all their children, right? So basically just a simple family tree. If you are a patron of the library, you do have access to the Ancestry Library edition through your patron card, your library card, and on Ancestry Library, or if you own the Ancestry membership, there's a lot of really helpful forms that are available on their website. You really want to be sure when you're working with yourself as well as making sure you're keeping personal research notes. Who are you talking to? Which databases are you using? Which repositories of information are you going to find this information? These are all really important in keeping records of that, so it helps you in the future with creating that social narrative. Be sure to document each source of information at all times. Wherever you have a blank space is information you need to find out or should be looking to find out. Relatives can be your biggest resource. It can be very helpful to bring along photographs or other documents you have collected to help family members jog their memory. Family history is more than just names and dates. A lot of times when you're working with things like ancestry and such, you're just getting census information. You're getting dates, you're getting birth dates, you're getting, locations that they live. Your family members, no matter how old or how young, probably have some form of stored social narrative about your family, and bringing that information that you gained by doing your research and then having that conversation with your relatives who maybe know a little bit more about the family history and such is really vital for understanding the full breadth of the social narrative of your own family history. And also when you're doing this, there's always a little bit of embellishment. There's, people like to tell the stories and such. So when you get new information, really try to verify any information when possible so as to ensure a really pinpoint accuracy with it. There might be dates that are exchanged. There might be a week off or two. That call can happen in social memory. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all remember things a little bit differently. So getting all those different inputs from family members can be a really positive way to helping start understanding maybe potential dates that you never researched, potential articles that might be in the local newspaper that you can go to the microfilm machine at the place like Alpena County Library and do that research. start your search online. It's not a demand, it's a request. It's something that I always start with. There's so much in this day and age of social media and availability of research tools and such online. There's so many things you can find these days. So by starting your search online, especially from ground zero, you may save yourself some time and money um, when doing kind of research. So that could be, just Google searching just to see relatively, okay, maybe I'm looking for a certain article. I know the title of the article, but I don't really know the date. Maybe looking up on Google or maybe looking up online through different sources will help you pinpoint that timeline a little bit better. And then that way, when you go into a library to say, look at the newspaper collections or microfilm, you're not spending hour on hour on hour endlessly searching. You might have a better idea of what timeline you want to be looking at. On this slide is a couple recommended sites, familysearch.org. Um, this for our patrons is only in the library use. Ancestry.com, I just mentioned a little bit earlier, is now available as of April 2020 because of the COVID-19 situation. We've made our Ancestry Library program available to our patrons through our e-catalog system. I will go over that later in this presentation and how to access that. Again, the good old Google search engine is a very powerful engine. There's a lot of information that's coming with. Sometimes it's too much, or sometimes it's just enough, or sometimes it's nothing. So, but starting with that initial search can really maybe pinpoint some things. Maybe you don't get access to a newspaper article because maybe it's behind some kind of pay scheme, but maybe you get a date from it, maybe you get a title from it, and then you can go from there and find the physical image or pay for that service if you decide that's what you want to do. Find a grave is a really important one as well. Helps you find any deceased relatives and such. It shows you where the grave is. If you're lucky enough, you might have a photo of the grave, tombstone. So using those sites can be really good thing as well. Fold3 is more of a military search site. If you're looking for draft cards, things like that, military service records, you're going to most likely finding them fold3.com. Fold3.com is a little bit of a learning curve attached to it, but it is a very powerful resource if you're doing that kind of research, or if you have a family member that has a military background, this is a good place to go to. Again, this is something that's only available to our own patrons at the library itself, either in our special collections department where we have the computers, or in our computer lab as well. And then there's also newspapers.com. Newspapers, and I'd say Ancestry are kind of like the big entities in town that they're kind of known nationally and internationally. Newspapers and ancestries are things that you have to pay for. So newspapers.com is a really great search engine for newspapers. We do have access to it at the library, but again, it's something that you need to come in person for. But a lot of times, there's a couple of our Alpena newspapers that are digitized into newspapers.com or accessible through there. But you're going to find a lot more Detroit Free Press, things like that through that website. Go to your local library, right? This is my personal plug for the Alpena County Library. But at the library, you may find a family or local history collection of atlases, cemetery records, census records, directories, family histories, newspapers, obituary files, photographs, published biographies of history, and a whole other slew of miscellaneous materials that might be attached to your family's history. Larger research libraries such as ourselves with the Alpena Library Special Collections Department, we do have materials from all over the United States, including military records and passenger lists for shipping and such. So it's a great place to start. It's a great place to, if you're local, come there, do your research, find a little bit more information, try to get a little bit more of the story, and then move on from there. Visit the county courthouse is not just an Alpena County thing. This is all over. Local government records that might be found at the or at the county courthouse include court records, deeds, divorces, divorce records, estate records, guardianship records, naturalization, soldier records, tax records, and vital records such as birth, marriage, and death. Alpena County Library has a lot of these materials up to a certain date. Depending on where you go, what state you are in, there might be different repositories for this information. Some places require county records such as that. They might be automatically sent to a certain library or down to a state level institution for holding in records. So making sure you call ahead, determine the hours of operation and how to access that material. They might just go, hey, we don't actually house it here. We house it at the library. Or we house it at a library downstate or a repository downstate. So it's always good to call ahead just to touch base to make sure you're not going to waste your time showing up and have them going, oh, you've got to call ahead or something like that. Another good one is visit the church of your ancestors, the ones that they attended, right? So records of baptism or confirmation, marriage, and burial may be available at these churches. Sometimes, if it's a Catholic, they might be at the diocese headquarters, or they might have their own local records. Again, it's good to call ahead, touch base, go, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. What do you think? There's always a wide variety of quality of the records that they keep. Some are very well done, very organized. Other ones might be just, they collected it chronologically, and then that's kind of the order. And so they might require a little bit more time, a little bit more digging. So if you're going to be traveling for something like this, make sure you kind of understand what states those collections might be in, so you can kind of properly plan your timeline for visiting that place and doing that work. Contacting your local genealogical or historical societies for assistance. This is a big one in terms of developing a community, especially if you're new to genealogy. Here locally, one of our big ones is the Northeast Michigan Genealogical Society, and they meet in the Alpena area. And then there's the website of Tester as well, and they meet at the Besser Museum and such. So these are really great organizations because you're going to meet like-minded people. You might even meet people that have been doing it much longer than you have, and you can find out more information from them or where to go. They might also have scheduled visits, scheduled presenters or lecturers, or activities that you can do. So this is a really great way to network and also develop your own skills as well. There's a lot of historical societies that are maybe specific to certain organizations or locations, like the Thunder Bay Island organization. So it kind of just depends on what you're looking for. Do a little bit of research, find out what those groups are. Check your organizational, social, and business records. If you're looking for specific business records, especially if it's a long-standing business, maybe contacting them going, hey, I'm interested in this. Sometimes they might have it on site. Sometimes they might have donated it to an organization like Alpena County Library. We have a fair amount of work on Lafarge and a little bit of lumber industries and kind of varied other organizations as well. For example, the McIver collection, which is tailor and dry cleaning business in Alpena. The Besser Museum collection for the Chamber of Commerce materials. The Alpena News collection is a very largely used resource to finding local history. Also, we have the Fred Trelfa collection and Tabor collection. So we have a wide variety of collections that hint or show businesses or organizations or social events that have happened in the area. And this is kind of talking back to like keeping keeping track of your records, writing down things, making sure you know where you're going, who you're talking to, who you send letters out or emails out to. So whether maintaining information digitally or in paper form, just really be sure to organize your information. For paper, a 3-ring binder is a good place to keep your work, or keeping an archival, just almost like a moving box folder size, and then having acid-free folders in it and have it organized chronologically or subject-wise or person-wise. Just keeping organization is really important. And also periodically review all the materials and then make a want list of what you need to extend your family lines, right? What are you looking for? Do you need more census information on a certain family? Do you need to know where they live? Do you need to know what their profession was? All these types of information can really be helpful if you're keeping track of it and keep detailed track of it. You don't want to keep repeating yourself over and over and over, because you can kind of grind the gears a little bit doing that. Keep records of sources checked, a research log basically, in order to avoid reviewing the same materials. Like I said, be sure to print and or back up your work. This is really important, especially if you're doing digital. Really make sure that you don't have all the research material just in one location. Make sure it's copied onto an external hard drive. Usually it's the rule of 3. So you have your main, your backup, and your backup, right? So your backup is usually the extreme extent where you're storing that external hard drive or whatnot, USB file, off-site from the other 2, right? So if something happens to the physical location and you lose the computer and the external hard drive, you still have a backup to it somewhere else, right? Um, so if you have a storage locker or family house or cabin or what have you, maybe that's a good spot for it. But always kind of try to adhere at the very minimum to the rule two, but like really try to go for that three states of backing up. Your third could also be a cloud storage as well. So, something happens with physical materials, you still have a cloud storage backup. Ancestry has a couple of Ancestry worksheets under the charts and forms tab. I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. They have a great resource of forms that can use for a variety of genealogical research, and it's really worth checking out, especially if you're a patron of the Alpena County Library or if you have membership to Ancestry.com. Really give it a check out and see what forms you like, which ones make sense, or you could take those as inspiration and create your own, maybe something that just makes more sense to you, right? These are kind of my tips and tricks. Like I said, this is all very glossary, it's very introductory. It's supposed to be just a short little, here, this is what you could look at. So, consider when you're doing a research, consider spelling variations. Names are often misspelled, and spellings may have changed over time for various reasons, right? Information should be confirmed by other sources whenever possible, kind of going back to talking to family members, recounting their memories and the histories that they're conveying over to you. Consult the records of parents, siblings, and cousins to find additional information which may not be available on your specific ancestor too, right? Allow a week, especially when you're dealing with death records, allow for a week following a death for an obituary to appear in a daily newspaper, and then 2 to 3 weeks in a weekly newspaper, right? So, the moment someone passes, you're not automatically always going to see something in the newspaper or local records. It's going to happen the next day, right? So giving yourself a little bit of leeway. If they passed away April 6th of 1991 or 1911, let's say, just giving it that week, maybe a week and a half date. Sometimes they're really simple. It costs money to put these things in the newspaper. Sometimes they're really simple, or sometimes they're very long. So it can be very, very, very much varied in the quality information you might get from those obituaries. If possible, establish dates through vital records before searching newspapers, right? Newspapers are a great resource, but there's a lot of information in newspapers that don't always deal directly with what you're researching, right? So, make sure you're establishing kind of a rough timeline of when you should be looking for this materials in the newspaper. And that way it helps you kind of slim down so you're not just scrolling page by page by page for 10 years in a row. I mean, you're just going to sit in front of a computer screen getting a little seasick, watching the scans go by that fast for that long a time. Also, try not to obsess over one record, right? You might get one record that states something, but again, kind of going back to confirming information. If you see it once and you don't see it anywhere else, doesn't mean it's not true, but it also doesn't mean it is true. So really try to be lenient with yourself when you're doing this research. If you cannot find that record or let's say you are really trying to find this one piece of information, you just can't find it. Sometimes you're just not going to. Sometimes you just need to take a break, look at something different, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, the very thing that you were getting frustrated that you couldn't find, now you find it. Now you know where it is, right? And also be creative. For instance, if your family is not listed in a passenger list of, say, like a steamship or such, or a passenger carrier, start researching people that came on the ship from the same place, right? So if you're looking at immigration records, maybe people that are coming from the same community, same town, a lot of times you can kind of cross parallel their experiences and help you maybe better understand your family, which might not have the same level of record keeping. And also expect the unexpected. Try to approach your research with an unbiased eye, right? And be open to finding information that you may not have expected. So you might go, I need to find this information on this person. This is exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to look at anything else. Take the time to kind of look around it, look at the context of what's going on during those storylines, and about the times that your ancestors were alive, what's going on in the community. A lot of times that can help you better understand maybe what your family was experiencing, whether it's depression or immigrating over from Ireland or other areas, living through World War I or living through World War II. Really kind of casting a wide net on how you're trying to create those stories. You might find that you can kind of better understand what's going on in the community during that time, and therefore understand a little bit more of what you're experiencing. And also, genealogy can be incredibly difficult, and it takes a lot of time. It's not something that you just Google search one family member, and all of a sudden everything's right there. You're good to go. You get to write your 500 family, 500-page family history, right? So take the time, enjoy the process, and when you get frustrated, just take a break, take a second, go get some coffee, go get a drink, and just take a moment to kind of organize your thoughts about what you just found or the materials doing. It's not just something. I don't usually have people that come in that they just want to find out one thing and that's it. They usually have a lifelong passion for it, or they're developed a lifelong passion for it later on in their years. It can be an incredibly rewarding activity or profession depending on how you're looking at it. So enjoy, the stories and the history and the people you can find through it, because that's kind of what it's all about, right? So that's the main part. Again, like I said, very bare bones. It's not meant to be an hour-long presentation on that. You're always welcome to review the slides. We're going to make this available most likely on YouTube and then through our Facebook page as well, for anybody that wants to see it. It's very accessible that way. So we're going to switch over gears just real quickly to Ancestry for Alpena Library patrons. So again, this is a library edition. The biggest difference is it's the same resources, it's the same materials you can search, but you cannot save things like you would if you owned your own membership, right? So that's where those data sheets come into place. Having those data sheets, making sure you're keeping record of the key search terms you're using, but you have access to the same census materials, birth records, death records, divorce records, military records. So it's a really great resource for our patrons of the library. You do have to have a library card though to access it. We are currently allowing people to make requests for library cards online. You can always call the library as well. You can use our live chat, or once the COVID situation is settled down and we're allowed to go back into such public places, you're always welcome to come to the library for access to the library card and ask any of us, how to access this if it's still available by then. So to get into Ancestry Library Edition through the Alpena Library portal, you're going to want to go to the Alpena County Library homepage. It's a simple Google search. Go right to the page. Look for the library catalog on the top tab section. You can see it in the slide highlighted green, so library catalog, and then go to the search catalog situation. Click on that, and that's going to bring you to our e-catalog. That's going to bring you to our e-catalog page. In the top right corner of that web page is going to be a login button. Click the login button, and when you have your Alpena library card on the back end, you're going to see a large digit number. That's your library barcode number. It's right underneath the barcode. It's pretty easy to find. And then you're also going to have the PIN, which is usually written into the top right of the card. The 4-digit PIN, super simple. It's all on the library card. You plug those two in, it's going to give you access to the library e-catalog first. And then once you do that, all of a sudden the Ancestry link, which I've highlighted with the arrow on the left side, if you click that, it's going to take you right to the Alpena Ancestry Library Edition that you get to access. So it's a great resource. It's a real triumph of our IT making that available for our patrons. Traditionally, it's not. It's something you'd have to come in and use one of our library computers to access. So take advantage of it, especially during this uncertain times where maybe you're stuck at home or working from home and such, using this materials to do your genealogy projects while you're home. Also wanted to real quickly share another project that we are working on. It started here in early April of 2020. So if you are interested in this, please contact us. I'll have emails at the end of the next slide. But COVID-19, share your story. We at the Alpena County Library know that we're going through an unprecedented time that very few of our ancestors have been through. This is definitely a new experience for a lot of us, especially staying at home, the uncertainty of tomorrow and such. So if you go to the Alpena Library homepage, you'll find a slide on that homepage, that first page. You'll find a slide that says, the COVID-19 share your story. This is our call for people to keep a diary, do poetry. Any forms of self-expression are kind of encouraged, whether it's interviews or oral histories or just recording on your phone how you felt today. We're trying to create a collection that shares that first person experience of what it's like to be in Northeast Michigan during these times of the stay at home orders of being locked into your homes and working from home, or maybe it's being unemployed from home. So if you're uncomfortable sharing a story but you still see the worth, please contact us individually. We can probably organize something to keep your anonymity when we do this. um, we will not be collecting any materials just yet, not until it's safe for us to be back in the library. And then we'll start doing more formal calls for this materials. But like I said, it can be diaries, it can be journal entries, it can be a PDF document from Word docs, it can be a painting you did, it could be photos that you took of the community during this time where the toilet paper section is cleared out, the frozen meat section's gone. It's just kind of however you view it, whatever your perspective on it going on. We encourage you to share that story with us for, the near future, people looking back and trying to remember what it was like, or for future generations that didn't live during this time, so they can look back and go, gosh, okay, that's what it was like. That's what it felt like. So we think this is a really important project that we're continuing on, and we hope that you all that are watching this contribute to this or think about contributing to this. And then I'll end it with a thank you. If you have any questions about any of the projects I mentioned or anything I've mentioned during this presentation, you are always more than welcome to email us at specialcollections@alpenalibrary.org. Or if you have any maritime questions regarding our maritime collections that we have on site, you can use the tbrc@alpenalibrary.org. So we're always happy to help you out. So I appreciate your staying with us for a little bit of time. I think it's about 30 minutes that we've had this presentation. So we hope you enjoyed it. We hope it gets you started on your next adventure in genealogy, and hopefully takes a little bit of the mystery out of the guessing of where to start or how to start. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you coming in or see your comments soon. Thanks.